Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me. One more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
I call to order the meeting of Finance Committee on January 27th, 2026 at 5:02 p.m. First item of business is the approval of minutes. I'll need a motion on the draft minutes of the January 13, 2026 Finance Committee.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Jetzer. Comments or questions on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to next item, which is public appearances for non-agenda items. We have nobody in chambers or online for non-agenda items. So move on to item 4, Finance Director Report. Misty?
Thank you. So first, from the last meeting, you had asked me about the amount of interest we collect during the tax time. So the tax collections we collect, we hold in a separate account until we settle with all of the overlying jurisdictions, including ourselves. So last year, we collected $280,000 worth of interest. The year before that was $336,000. By other end of the spectrum, though, during COVID, it was $6,305. So pretty wide range of how much interest that is. But in most years, it does cover the city's cost for the LTE staff and all of that in order to provide that service.
That's more than I think you had remembered.
Yeah, I just did the December last time. So this would be for the whole season, including when we get state aid from the state, and then I disperse it the following month. So this would be the whole year's worth of tax-related interest. Other than that, still collecting property taxes. People that want to mail in their tax bill, remember the change at the U.S. Postal Service with the postmark. So if you drop it off somewhere and you need it postmarked that day, ask them to hand stamp it. Otherwise, it goes to a regional facility and comes back and will not be postmarked right away. So watch that, or of course, preferably, do it a couple of days earlier. And then we do collect for 5 business days after the 31st as a grace period for that mail to come in. And then other than that, just end of year, trying to get started closing out 2025.
Wonderful. Any questions for Misty? We can move on to our review of bills. Item 5A, detailed review of all checks issued, checks 129,855 to 129,886 from January 1 to 15, 2026, totaling $138,166.10. Comments or questions? We can move on to 5B, review of P-card transactions for the cycle ending December 8, 2026, totaling $287,167.71. Comments or questions? Bill?
I guess the $4,500 restroom part for the Dolly Hub, is that what we had previously discussed and all were, shocked that a toilet could be that expensive, or was this something else?
What was the description?
It was from NASCO Inc., Dolly restroom part.
Part?
Part.
Oh, yep. So that's what we had talked about last time. With the commercial plumbing is very expensive.
Okay, and then I saw there are also lots of ebooks. What's the story with those?
Those are through the library, so they purchase them and then provide access to them to the people that have library cards.
Awesome.
Do we know that? I had that same question. Do we normally purchase those individually from? We do.
Ooh, I know someone who could answer that.
Yeah, I'm just. Yes.
Great. Seeing no more questions, we can move on to our action items. We got quite a list here, so we'll try to move fast if we can. First item is 6A. I'll need a motion on resolution R0126, approving the 2025 Transit Fund Budget Amendment, State Aid, Mass Transit, and Metro Transit Services Funds.
I'll move to approve.
Motion approved by Alder Lattice. Who would, Tim, are you going to introduce this?
Yes, good evening. In 2025, Public Works budgeted $2,020,000 for Metro Transit services. The actual cost of the transit services was $2,034,931, giving a shortfall of $14,391. At the same time, in 2025, Public Works budgeted to receive $1.3 million in state aid, and we received $1,376,025, giving a surplus of $76,025 in state aid. There are sufficient funds in the state aid revenue account to cover the shortage in the transit services expenditure account. So we're looking for council to amend the 2025 transit fund budget to add $15,000 to the mass transit state aid revenue account. Then we're looking for council to also amend the 2025 transit fund budget to add $15,000 to the Metro Transit Services expenditure account.
Thanks, Tim. So the 76,000 over, is that state aid specifically for bus transit, for public buses, or is it for aid more broadly across the city?
For the buses, and then also the paratransit service too that comes with the Madison Metro.
Okay, so that 76,000 is dedicated to transportation buses. And then
Correct.
what do we do? So it sounds like we will actually have a surplus then, because we had $76,000 extra. What happens to that money when there's a surplus?
I'll take that one if that's okay, Tim. So
Yes.
mass transit is set up in a separate fund, so it's separate from the general fund. So any amount of interest or tax levy or grant payments that come in that are more than what we had budgeted, that will stay within that fund. And then that will help us in future years if, say, the aid doesn't hit the number we thought it would, or the interest doesn't hit the number we thought it would. So it builds that fund balance for this relatively new fund.
So it's basically its own separate little
Absolutely.
fund balance. Great. And do we have a significant amount of money in there, or do we typically?
The fund
get
is
pretty
new,
close?
so we didn't used to have a separate fund back when we just paid our net amount to Metro Transit. Now, within the last, Tim, do you know, 3 years, 4 years, something like that, we receive the money from the state and we pay the full cost to Metro. That was when we created the separate fund. So it's within the last just a couple of years.
Well, great. Sounds like it worked out. Other questions? Bill?
That was basically the question I asked last night at Public Works, and Tim said, hey, why don't you ask Misty at Finance?
And I gave you an answer, so we're good.
That's great to have a rainy day fund. Other questions? Seeing none, we can take it to a vote. All in favor of resolution R0126, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next is 6B. I'll need a motion on resolution R0326, approving advanced scheduling software upgrade.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Jetzer. Misty?
Yeah. So council has already authorized the city to move to UKG for our payroll software. If you remember during those conversations, one of our big goals was to get the police department off of paper timesheets. The way that we can do that, because the police department has such sophisticated scheduling methods, is we need a supplemental advanced scheduling software that will then feed into the payroll. So this pre-approval is for that solution, which is actually owned by UKG as well. So we expect there to be a really seamless transition there. It's basically what they have now, but souped up a little bit. So looking forward to implementing this.
And right now there's still, before this, they used paper timesheets, and now we're going to be digital.
I sure hope so. Yes, that's
awesome.
the main goal. Yes.
And how is the overall payroll implementation going, yeah.
Yeah. So we were in kind of the introduction phase last month. In the last couple of weeks, we moved to the requirement stage, which is where UKG has asked my team for a bunch of information. So we are providing that at this point. I think we have a couple more weeks before all of that is due to them, and then they will start building it from there. So we're still in the very early stages, but I am encouraging my team to make sure they take the time and, set it up the right way so that we can pay the dividends in the future.
What's the tentative go-live date?
Yeah, so when we got this contract authorized, the go-live was going to be 10/1. It's actually been bumped up to 7/1. So we're hopeful that things continue to go along on a nice clip.
And then this new module will be in that same timeline, or will it be in a different timeline?
That I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to find out. But I know they're kind of parallel.
Okay.
And the police department is the only remaining department that's not on electronic time entry.
Correct.
All right, seeing no more questions, we can vote. All in favor of Resolution R0326, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next, I'll need a motion on 6C, Resolution R0426, acceptance of the 2026 to 2028 water treatment chemicals contract proposals.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Alder Ledesay. Tim?
The Fitchburg Water Utility has been purchasing chemicals for water treatment for several years. The utility issued a request for proposal for water treatment chemicals contracts. The RFP was advertised by legal notice in the Wisconsin State Journal on November 25th, 2025 and December 2nd, 2025, and posted on questcdn.com. On December 9th, 2025, 2 proposals were received for these services. Hawkins Incorporated was determined to have submitted the most qualified proposal to perform these services. We're looking for council to approve the contract for the 2026-2028 water treatment chemicals for a total of $228,228, which includes a 10% contingency.
And Tim, this is a 3-year contract?
Yes, this is a 3-year contract.
If I recall, we used to do this annually, right? Were we moving to a 3-year contract for, is it efficiency? Is it cost? Is there a reason to move to a 3-year contract?
Yeah, it is an efficiency, and I don't believe the city went out for an RFP prior to this, so our costs actually went down with this for what we're currently paying, and then I believe there was in the agenda packet kind of the cost comparison for each year to what we currently pay.
Other questions? Bill?
I didn't notice, does the cost increase each year with inflation, or are we paying a fixed rate for each of the 3 years?
It doesn't increase. I believe it works out to maybe about 3%. Is what Hawkins is charging per year for the increase.
And thanks for the very clear title. I love how this was worded this year. Seeing nothing else, we can vote. All in favor of Resolution R0426, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to Resolution R0526. I'll need a motion on approving the upgrade to the 2026 John Deere tractor.
I move approval.
Motion to approve by Alder Jetzer. Tim?
Resolution R-170-24 authorized the purchase of a John Deere 5075M with broom back on October 22nd, 2024. The tractor was manufactured and delivered in November 2025. The dealer planned to install a front-mounted power takeoff, also known as a PTO. However, this was determined not to be feasible. So Mid-State Equipment has offered to trade in the John Deere 5075M for a John Deere 5085M. Mid-State will give Fitchburg the entire cost paid for the John Deere 5075M to trade up to the John Deere 5085M. An overall cost increase of $4,902.35 would need to be paid for the upgraded horsepower and front mount PTO, which is available in the Public Works Highway Equipment Replacement Fund. So we're looking for council to approve the purchase of the John Deere 5085M from Midstate Power Equipment for the cost of $92,677.26. And then also looking for council to authorize the trade-in of the John Deere 5075M in the amount of $87,774.91.
Thanks, Tim. Questions? Just a procedural question, Misty. Is there a reason that we don't need a budget amendment for this, even though there's an additional cost?
Because it's part of the replacement fund, and so there's flexibility for the department to make purchases as needed.
Great.
Actually, I do. Did we ever even receive this, or is it just kind of sitting there and they couldn't put the thing on, so now we're just kind of swapping it out?
We did receive it. So back in November, or since November, it's been sitting in our shop. When they found out they couldn't do the PTO, they said they could modify the broom attachment. So the broom's still sitting at their shop. However, they were unable to modify that, and that's how we came to this kind of compromise on how they could provide what we had asked for originally.
And I'll just note that we're exchanging a 5075M for a 5085M. The 75 and 85 refer to the horsepower, so we're actually getting a more powerful tractor out of the deal.
Sounds great. Seeing no other questions, we can vote. All in favor of resolution R0526, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next, I'll need a motion on resolution R0626, accepting a proposal for creative and interactive feature for children's library with Bachman Design Group.
I'll move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Ledesay, and our director, Wendy, is here.
We did an RFP to add an interactive and creative element to the children's library. So we've been open 15 years. Children's library needs a little bit of a refresh. We are hoping to do something that is kind of a draw to communities around the area. As I have shared with you before, we're struggling a little bit with county funding based on a lot of Fitchburg residents going to other libraries, especially Verona. So we're hoping to be kind of a draw in the area to increase attendance, but also circulation. So we had two very good proposals come in. We reviewed those, we did interviews, and selected Bachman. They have done work in the area at Blackhawk Fitchburg Church, and they are currently working on the new branch library at Rindell Park. So we were very happy with the proposal. It was an RFP, so not really a bid situation. We have $100,000 to spend on it. Bachman came in at $95,000, and we're excited to get ready to do the project.
So that's design and construction costs?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
Other questions? Exciting.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see what we come up. Do you have any idea what the timeline is?
Hopefully by the end of the year, because it's a CIP project.
That's wonderful.
I do. Do you have a general idea of what you're envisioning?
So part of the reason that design is included here is so they can kind of lead us down that. If you look at what other libraries have done around the country, you see a lot of like trees that you walk through or different things. So I think we're open to suggestions. Our youth staff will definitely be included to have some input on that. So yeah, could be almost anything.
All right, seeing no other questions, we can take it to a vote. All in favor of resolution R0626, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks so much, Wendy.
Thank you.
Next, I'll need a motion on resolution R0726, amendment to the final assessment amounts for the 2024 sidewalk replacement.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Jetzer. Tim, you have the floor.
There was a clerical error in the 2024 sidewalk assessment report that was unnoticed until the resident received the bill. So the error was corrected through resolution R-231-25 and approved by the Board of Public Works on December 1st, 2025. A second error was brought forth in 231-25 was postponed indefinitely at the December 9th, 2025 Common Council meeting, necessitating a new resolution. So any adjustments to the approved assessment amounts need to be approved by council. So the edited Exhibit A has been attached with the affected parcels highlighted in yellow. So we're looking for council to approve the edited assessment amounts for the affected parcels highlighted in yellow as they appear in the attached Exhibit A.
Comments or questions? Seeing none, we can take it to a vote. All in favor of Resolution R0726, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to, I'll need a motion on Resolution R0826, authorizing legal services in defense of MMS Triverton LLC et al. Excessive tax assessment lawsuit.
I'll move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Ledesay. Misty?
So this is a pre-approval for continued legal defense services in this tax assessment lawsuit. If there's specific questions the council would like to ask, the attorney as well as the city attorney will be available in closed session at the council meeting, if you'd rather defer that to that point. But this amount is available within budget and within our purchasing requirements.
And we feel like it's in the right ballpark.
Absolutely.
Great. All in favor of Resolution R0826, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to, I'll need a motion on Resolution R1126, approving change order number 1 for the Fish Hatchery Road repairs.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Jetzer. Tim?
The City of Fitchburg, by Resolution R-98-25, approved a cost-share agreement with Dane County for the pavement repairs on Fish Hatchery Road at Lacey Road and at East Sherrill Parkway, along with some spot areas. During construction, Dane County incurred additional costs due to the complexity of multiple detours needed, the additional staging, and corresponding means and methods to complete the work. The additional labor and equipment increased the cost of the project $40,423.32, which is available in the budget. We're looking for council to approve change order number 1 for the Fish Hatchery Road repairs in the amount of $40,423.32.
And just to clarify, so the $40,000 extra, is that our half of the change?
Correct. Yeah, so the overrun was a little over $80,000, so that was split 50-50 between the city and the county. And then the county self-performed all the work too, so they didn't, a third-party contractor wasn't hired to do the work, so we kind of saved there also.
Thanks, Tim. Sometimes the cost of road reconstruction shocks me, but I trust that Public Works does its due diligence. So any other questions? Seeing none, we will vote. All in favor of Resolution R1126, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on, I'll need a motion on Resolution R1226, amending the 2025 and 2026 General Fund and Capital Projects Fund budgets. Public Works LTE Special Project Engineer.
I'll move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Ledesay. Tim, are you introducing this too?
Yeah, I can introduce this one. Special Projects Engineer, limited term employee, has been assisting with the Police Services Facility Project. This is Paul Woodard's position. We've been utilizing Paul at a significantly lower cost than hiring an outside engineering firm to do the same work. An additional 200 hours were needed in 2025 to account for the actual hours worked on projects during the past year. And then the continuation of his position was not included in the original adopted 2026 budget, but there is a desire to continue the position in 2026. An administrative budget amendment was approved by the mayor to authorize 50 hours of service for the first couple months of 2026. A budget amendment approved by council is required to authorize an additional 350 hours of service for the remainder of 2026. Property tax funding within CIP number 2141 for the police services facility is proposed to be transferred to the general fund to pay for these additional hours in both 2025 and 2026. So we're looking for council to authorize the special projects engineer LTE for an additional 200 hours in 2025 and an additional 350 hours in 2026.
May I ask why wait, like why are we not doing the 2025 change until now?
Thank you.
So the 2025 change was done doing an end of the year accounting, if you will, of how many hours Paul actually worked. I was obviously responsible for Paul's hours oversight and simply lost track of the number of hours that Paul had put in. I knew that he had obviously was working extensively on the police facility, and clearly we had underestimated the number of hours that we thought that he might be needed. So this effectively is a budget amendment to cover the additional hours that he put in on not only the police facility, but also adding a couple of parks projects and then the city hall remodel that is also forthcoming. So we did take and adjust his hours for 2026 to better reflect what we anticipate will take place in 2026. So we hope that we will not have a similar situation, and I'll make sure that I have on my to-do list to continue to check his hours in relation to what has been budgeted. And I do know Paul has mentioned that he is hoping to phase his involvement in city business here over the next year or two. So we've certainly been grateful for the expertise and service that he's provided to this point, and will continue to provide as he wraps up the projects that he's currently working on.
As you go through discovery and requirements analysis for the payroll software, is this a scenario that you're going to discuss with them? Because this is not unique to Paul Woodard, right? We do this with other LTEs as well.
So I don't know that the payroll system itself will monitor budget versus actual, but it will hopefully provide better reporting to the managers so that they can just stay on top of the hours used a little bit better. So yes, but not a complete overhaul.
Well, Paul does outstanding work, so I'm glad he's agreed to do this great work for the city and get us through that police facility project. He's been pretty instrumental in that, so we're grateful to him for spending more time with us. He was the public works director in the past, right? Okay, yeah, wonderful. Other questions? Seeing none, we can vote. All in favor of resolution R1226, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. I'll need a motion on resolution R1326, change order for civil law in the defense of Franklin Square Fred excessive tax assessment lawsuit.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Jetzer. Misty?
So same situation as the one before, where there is an open assessment claim against the city that we need to defend. The only difference is that this one does require a budget amendment. A portion of these costs are able to be paid for out of the TID, TID 10, because it is properties within the TID. The rest of it would be covered by the Internal Service Fund. But both of those funds have sufficient capacity to absorb this additional cost.
Wonderful.
This is a much bigger dollar amount. How complex is this case?
So great question for the attorneys in the closed session at council, but the short answer is very.
All right, seeing no other questions, all in favor of resolution R1326, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on, I'll need a motion on resolution R1426, approving new lease agreements for third floor copier.
I'll move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Lattice.
I'll take this one. So council had approved the replacement copier up on the third floor at the end of 2025. Vendor came back and said that one wasn't available and they needed us to sign a new contract. So we are basically recanting the approval from last year and getting approval for this new one. The purpose of this too is to get on the same contract as our other copiers.
And I assume it's a equivalent machine that's just as useful and a similar price and all of that?
It's a little bit more expensive, but better quality, I think. Yeah. The other one's just not available.
Do you remember what the previous cost was?
The previous one was about $150. This one's a little over $170 per month. It looks like we get the same per page rate, but like the projected volume seems like a pretty big dollar amount. Like, you know, it's equivalent to like 8,000 color pages every month. That seems like a lot. And I don't know, at least a factor of 10 if we're talking black and white. How much use do we get out of these?
So this one is the copier up on the third floor, which services our engineering department, building inspection, planning. I think there's another one up there too. But it's departments that are very kind of paper heavy, I would say. So it doesn't surprise me that there's a lot of usage up on that machine.
All right, seeing no other questions, we can vote. All in favor of resolution R 1426, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on, I'll need a motion on resolution R 1526, amending the 2025 general fund budget, FACTv wireless intercom.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Jetzer. Misty?
I'll take this one. So every year we do the carryover process, the budget carryover for things that were budgeted to get done in 1 year, project specific, but weren't completed, and so we requested to still do it the following year. This was one that was purchased in 2024, but was erroneously not included on the carryover request. So we're ultimately trying to clean that up just to reflect the budget versus actual.
Seeing no questions, we can vote. All in favor of resolution R 1526, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. I'll need a motion on resolution R 1626, approving the 2026 to 2028 Venture Debt Fund Participation Agreement between the City of Fitchburg and the Madison Development Corporation.
I've got this one.
Oh, I need a motion.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Lettuce. Chad, you're up.
Yeah, so this is a program that the city has participated in for a number of years, and the city is looking to renew its participation in this particular program. As you'll note on the referral sheet, that we first entered into participation in this particular program was in 2004, and it does provide some additional information associated with dollar amounts and so forth. So effectively, we're just looking to continue our participation in this.
I'd love to learn more about this. Actually, for some reason, I haven't been tracking this. I don't know that much about how we work with the Madison Development Corporation. Is there anything you can share about like what has happened in the past with this?
What I could do is I could ask our Economic Development Director, Mike Zimmerman, to provide a bit more of a summary on how this has worked in the past, and if there's been any interesting things that he would like to note, and share that with the Common Council.
I think that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know, like, just, some examples of, loans we've given out.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that.
And okay, this is for 2026 to 2028. 3 years, okay.
All right. Seeing no other questions, we can vote. All in favor of resolution R 1626, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on, I'll need a motion on resolution R 1726, amending the 2026 TID closure fund budget, fire department shipping containers.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Jetzer. And our chief is here.
Yes, this is an exciting opportunity for us. As you know, last year we started a smaller training center with, kind of reinventing a well house building behind Station 1 and adding one shipping container. We found a lot of morale boost and quality training coming from that area. So we would like to use this money to expand that. We are hopeful that this will affect what's called our ISO rating that could potentially provide the community some financial benefits, as in reduction of their homeowners or something like that. No guarantee right now, but we'll definitely explore that with the ISO representatives if that's possible. If that's not the case, then we'll set up for our future, a long future of being able to train our folks on our property whenever we want. So right here in district. So that would be a huge benefit to the fire department.
Exciting.
What's the full gamut of training that you do with these containers?
It really is anything. We've extended just our single container and well house setup right now to law enforcement, EMS, anybody that wants to train there. So it's basically, we joined a shipping container with the well house, so it's all one building. It's set up like a house. It has some specific firefighter props for training and things like that. But basically, it's an open room, metal walls or concrete walls, and the police can shoot simulation rounds in there. The EMS folks can do scene safety and patient management scenarios in there, and then the fire department has several different opportunities as far as search and rescue scenarios or advancing hose line scenarios and things like that. So just a lot of really good opportunity there. And some of our law enforcement partners, Dane County Sheriff, Fitchburg PD, and as well as Fitch-Rona have already used the facility. And then obviously we use it probably at least every other day outside of this cold snap. So it's good stuff. So we went from basically, when we're training our new people, obviously we have a lot of turnover and we have to train everybody up before they can run calls. From saying, hey, these 2 traffic cones are your house and your door, to where now we have a door and what looks like a house and things we can do. And it's just been really good for everybody. And I can see the training environment is just so much more productive. So.
And are the new containers all going to be separate units, or are you going to put one on top of another so you can have stairways?
Yep. We're going to leave the one that's in place as a single story, and then on the south side and what's the west side, we'd have 2 double stacked containers. And then we'll have an interior stairwell and an exterior stairwell that we've been working on getting some really good Facebook Marketplace deals on. So we've been pretty successful there, and we're really hoping to just reduce the cost as much as possible. With the money that we're asking for, we can absolutely complete the project. Well, I shouldn't have said absolutely, right? We're confident we can complete the project. But yeah, so would be the setup, and there'd be an interior stairwell so you could get to that whole second floor. The nice part about shipping containers is really a layperson can do the fabrication of windows and even doors and things like that. That's what makes it so nice and so popular in the fire service to do training centers out of these shipping containers, because they're easily replaceable as well and very low cost. So.
Good recycling, because those shipping containers, they come over here and they never leave, is my understanding.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good innovation or recycle story about the well house, because when I showed up, it was just kind of raccoon infested, really smelly, and just kind of a large storage space that there wasn't much in there. So just got together one afternoon and said, why aren't we using this building, right? And then it's turned into this. So I think it's a really good story of innovation.
That's great.
So you can practice rescuing raccoons.
Yeah, we kind of sealed the raccoon off, so yeah.
All right. Seeing no other questions, we can vote. All in favor of Resolution R1726, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on, I'll need a motion on Resolution R2026, amending the 2025 General Fund and Insurance Fund budgets, Fire Department overtime.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Alder Lattice. You going to kick this off, Chief?
Yeah, this isn't what I was hoping to come in January and talk to you about in my first year of employment here. But there's a lot of variables to this and a lot of challenges to overcome. I could go into really specific detail with you guys right now, or I can hit the major categories for you.
I think go high level for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So some of the big, we're right around, without taking any budget amendments into account, it was about $196,000 over what we budgeted. We had a lot of turnover, so staffing is one of the bigger challenges. Based on policy, PTO usage, our minimum staffing, and who can staff in each position per day. There's a lot of details of that really can sometimes tie our hands to what our options are as far as paying career overtime or part-time or POX overtime. PTO usage, we're looking at adjusting that policy right now. It's about 50% of the career staff on duty can be off each day, far outside our industry average. So continuing to work on that. Those are all housed in MOUs, and so we'll work on that. We already have been. Overtime into comp time as part of a policy is a challenge. So lots of different procedural or contractual obligations that we're working through right now are causing a lot of the overtime. Some of the other contributing factors to the budget in general is vehicle maintenance, as we've talked about several times over the last 8 months. The vehicles are getting older. We all know when vehicles get older, they cost a little bit more money to maintain. Fire trucks, multiply that by 10 or 100 or whatever that is. So dealing with that, and then we do have a mechanic within the city that can do routine maintenance, oil changes, some other small things like that. Very busy individual. So basically, we have to use warranty qualified outside facilities or outside contractors to maintain the vehicles. So it's about an hour and a half drive each way to get there. We have one reserve engine, so oftentimes it's not a choice of when. It has to be right now to get those fixed because we need to keep those vehicles on the road, especially the ladder truck. We do have some shared response and automatic aid with our neighbors. But a lot of times it's how fast can we get this done so we can be back in response ready capability. So a lot of that is taking place. So some of the things that we're working on, as I told you, the contractual obligations, obviously we're going to arbitration here soon. I'm working on the MOUs with Local 311 as far as PTO usage and things like that, and exploring those opportunities. Obviously, we're going to make sure we're continuing to do a really good job of maintaining and trying to do as much preventative maintenance of our apparatus as possible. We're looking obviously at the innovation grant and potential consolidation. We're at the beginning phases of that, but I think that would all of that would come from that would be able to share resources, work with each other to cover each other, even for apparatus and staffing and all that. So that would be a significant benefit. We are in the process of onboarding 8 POX or part-time firefighters. They should be hitting the apparatus in February. I brought on 3 chief officer part-time or POX folks. One of them is clear. The other 2 should be coming on in the next 30 to 45 days. That should limit a lot of that chief overtime that we saw. We had a retirement of one of our POX chiefs, really the only one, in September, and that really took a toll on our overtime, and that's the higher cost overtime that we have. So bringing those on board, all of those positions I think are going to help us out. We just have to do a good job of retaining those individuals and making sure we're maximizing their use in our scheduling. So when I arrived, there hadn't been a lot of progress made in those areas. So after getting kind of grounded in the organization, I figured out those gaps pretty quickly. And since we've made those, taken the initiative to hire those part-time folks to try and backfill some of that career overtime, which is the most expensive overtime. So again, lots of details to all of this, but I can tell you we're working on the possible solutions outside of our contractual obligations and policies. So we're hoping to reduce. I can't guarantee for 2026 what that's going to look like because a lot of the conditions are the same. So.
Great. Questions? Bill?
So the staff memo you sent is dated in January, and it refers to the current fiscal year. What is the fiscal year we're talking about?
It's
what's the end date of the fiscal year?
Well,
we're calendar year. Yeah.
Okay. So when we say the current fiscal, this is really 2025.
Yes.
Okay.
To my knowledge, and Misty can correct me, not all of the accounts have been fully reconciled yet. So the final number is still approximate.
But right. Okay. But the numbers that are in here should be pretty accurate because we're talking about the past. Correct. This is not an estimate for, the next 6 months or something?
Within reason, but as Chief mentioned, so we haven't finished closing out 2025. It's like that pay period that crosses years. We haven't pushed that into 25 yet, and some other variables. So it is still an estimate, but it's a solid estimate.
Okay.
And in the last quarter of 2025, we knew this, a number was coming, and we took several actions to try and reduce that impact. So after all the accounts are reconciled, hopefully we'll have surplus in several other accounts that we'll be able to reduce that overtime number. It won't be significant, but we're hopeful it will bring it down. Some of the things we did were, outside training, which is very popular amongst my staff, to enhance their skills and things like that. We reduced that to kind of need only. And then we just tried to watch any kind of spending that was optional. And it's stressful because obviously when we make our budget, all the accounts are really meant to do something for that year, so it's kind of trying to prioritize what we're not going to do. So looking at this year, it's going to be the same thing really, is like, where can we hold off until we know we're good? So it's kind of a hardship for us as we're looking at it, but it's what we need to do to support the city's plan, and it's what we're going to do.
So if this were to continue, like if you were to have issues in 2026 again, are there still funds in this contingency fund that we're using that would be available as we're going forward, or kind of what's the status of that?
So this will wipe out the contingency that we built up through 2025 almost completely. We do have a small amount coming on again in 2026. But it is a structural problem that needs to be addressed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my question is in regards to the union contract, because the union contract that we haven't finalized yet covers 2025. So there's a possibility we might have to go back and look at this again once that's finalized.
Yes and no. So I need to post an estimate for the cost for 2025 that will be included in back pay if there is back pay in the arbitration decision. So that will be posted. And once the audit is done, I can't go back and post more. So whatever amount I'm off will need to be absorbed within 2026.
Okay. And then in regards to how we budgeted for 2026, did we include more in the overtime budget going into the budget process?
We did
not. Okay. So the budget for 2026 is really the same as the original budget for 2025 for overtime?
Based on hours, yes. The hours did not change, though the amount of overtime varied because the wages did change.
Got it.
If we were to form a joint fire department with neighboring municipalities, like, is everybody suffering the same problem, or would this be mitigated to some extent?
I would say generally yes. So the part-time staffing pool out there is diminishing every month. Everybody is really kind of, angling themselves for the same group of people. Obviously, as you know, living in Dane County, the cost of living is fairly high comparable to the rest of the state. So, when folks are making choices about wages, I think that's heavily impacting our situation. Thankfully, we raised our part-time starting rate to $15, but as you know, and several other entry-level jobs out there, they can make twice as much as that. So I think it's just really, that pool is shrinking due to just financial need of the people that were filling those in the past. We're doing our best to make sure the department is very attractive to folks that want to train and become a firefighter and even move on to a larger organization. We're completely fine with that, as long as they meet the commitment here. I can tell you financially, the chiefs that I'm meeting with, which are most of our neighbors, when we're talking about the innovation grant and potentially consolidating, all are saying the same thing. Is that most of them feel like they don't have the money this year to do the same thing they did last year. And then the person component is there too. Several of them echo our issues of burnout of the career staff. Because at the end of the day, if a seat needs to be filled, the career staff member would be mandated to fill that seat. So although overtime appears to be a luxury or a great option for extra income, consistently doing a lot of overtime isn't really a good thing mentally. When I showed up here as well, one of the strategies I think for the overtime budget concern was to encourage, or I'll leave it at encourage our younger folks in the intern program and some of our POX folks to work greater than 100 hours straight. In all the research in the fire service, that is not healthy. Shift work in general, that is not healthy to do that to yourself. Not to mention, I know it was the reason behind some of the folks moving on. We immediately corrected that. The industry norm is 72 hours straight, and I know that even seems like a lot. It's 2 weeks of 9 to 5 work, right, all at once. So that's pretty much the industry standard, and we've been holding to that. Anytime we would want to exceed that, it has to come to me, and I would not approve that. We'll figure something else out. So yeah, I would say the local area, similar agencies like us are in the same boat. I can't answer about their overtime numbers, that's for sure.
Just thank you for all your efforts on this.
Seeing no other questions, we can take it to a vote. All in favor of Resolution R 2026, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks so much, Chief. Next, I'll need a motion on Resolution R 2126, amending the 2026 Grants Donations Fund Budget EMS Funding Assistance Program, FAP.
I'll move approval.
Motion approved by Aldo Ledesay. Oh, you can take this, Chief? Yeah. All right.
This is us as well. So this is the funding assistance program by the state for EMS agencies. We are considered an EMS agency in their eyes, even though we don't transport patients in the fire department. This is the second year of the grant program. Fitchburg has took advantage of it for the 2025 year, and then we applied and were accepted for 2026. This is designed to help support us, training our folks in EMS as well as purchasing equipment. Obviously, there's several control measures there as far as replacing actual line item budget items with the city and things like that, and making sure that this money is going towards EMS. So along with the innovation grant, I think this is an effort by the state to help support municipalities. As they know, EMS and firefighting, public safety in general, is just becoming very expensive year after year, and they're trying to support it with these grants. So we were awarded $112,000 and some change this year, and then we plan to continue, providing you guys approve, to apply for this grant as long as it's offered to be able to help support. Some of the good stuff we're talking about is obviously EMS training for our folks and working with our neighbors to provide good training. But also we're going to provide 2 AEDs for 2 different parks, as well as the mounting boxes and things like that. So we're working with parks on that. And the grant does provide that opportunity to do those kind of things in the community too. So we're excited.
What is the other park? I assume you're going to McGaw because that's replaced.
McGraw and McKee.
And McKee.
Yeah.
So, awesome. That's great.
Are we, is that going to be replacing any other effort to put AEDs in parks? I know we talked about that during the budget process, but because we can utilize this funding, we're going to use this source.
Yeah, that's the funding source the staff feels is the most appropriate to use to accomplish the objective from the budget conversation. And then, as you heard, we'll look to actually, in light of having one in McGaw, which is clearly one of our large community parks, we thought it would be appropriate, since there's some funding available to use one in McKee as well, again, with it being a large community park.
Congratulations on the grant. It's outstanding. Seeing no other questions, we can vote. All in favor of Resolution R 2126, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks so much, Chief. I'll need a motion on Resolution R 2226, approving change orders for legal services with Cybel Law Offices and Bill Miller, Integra Realty Resources, aka Appraisal Research Partners LLP, and this is a direct referral.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Jetzer. Misty?
This is the last pre-approval request for legal services for an assessment claim. This one is a little bit different in that it is a change order because an additional year was added onto the claim, but then also the TID that was paying for part of the cost for the first year that was included in the claim was closed, and so now we had to do some kind of shifting around of some funding. So it looks a little messy, but end of the day, it's very similar to what we did for the other two.
Seeing no questions, we can vote. All in favor of Resolution R2226, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next, I'll need a motion on Resolution R2326, approving purchase of a utility 5500 series dump truck, and this is a direct referral.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Alder Ledesay. Tim?
The 2026 adopted budget included $75,000 for the purchase of a utility dump truck for the new utility maintenance worker position. The utility typically purchases vehicles through the state contract. However, the state contract pricing for a 2026 two-wheel drive 5500 series dump truck from Napleton Chevrolet came in over budget at $77,495.50. Utility reached out to Napleton Chevrolet and two other vendors for quotes on trucks priced within the approved budget and available on the lot. The lowest quote was from Napleton Chevrolet for a 2023 two-wheel drive truck, but they cannot hold the truck at the price quoted, and the utility's preference is a four-wheel drive truck. Kaiser Truck and Trailer has the preferred four-wheel drive truck at a price within the approved budget and has agreed to hold the truck at the price quoted while waiting for city approval. Looking for council to approve the purchase of the 2024 5500 series four-wheel drive Chevy Silverado from Kaiser Truck and Trailer in the amount of $69,900.
Questions?
I'll just note that in the agenda packet, the 2024 model information indicates there's only 45 miles on it, so it's a brand new truck.
My one question is, the state contract usually is a lot cheaper than buying, but is this something that we should be checking more frequently? Because that's a pretty big difference in price. I know that's a lot more work for staff to go out to bid than to check, but I was surprised that the state contract was more than what we could be found on the lot, especially looking at a four-wheel drive vehicle that's better for our staff.
Yeah, and it's something we have done, at least here in Public Works, especially for pickup trucks. We'll take kind of a look at dealerships around the area and see what they have on the lot if there is something cheaper. So that is something we'll do from time to time.
It also indicates in the pack of materials that this dump truck was marked down from $91,000 to $69,900. So
we got lucky. I like that. All right. Seeing no other questions, we can vote. All in favor of Resolution R2326, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next is, I'll need a motion on Resolution R2426, authorizing payment to Axley Brindleson LLP for outside legal services in 2026.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Jetzer.
So this is one of those annual pre-approvals that we do each year for our labor attorney. So the city attorney provides general legal services to the city, but labor is such a specialized area, we do outsource that piece. We don't necessarily know what questions or issues will come up, so we bring forward a pre-approval for the full amount that's budgeted for the year.
Seeing no questions, we can vote. All in favor of Resolution R2426, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next, I'll need a motion on Resolution R2526, approving a project management contract between the City of Fitchburg and Sustain Dane for the Efficiency Navigator Program.
I'll move to approve.
Motion approved by Alder Ledesay. And our housing specialist, Lorene Gage, is here to introduce this.
Hi.
Hi.
So we're here to renew the contract with Sustain Dane for the Efficiency Navigator Program, which was really successful. Had a great year of working on projects in the healthy neighborhoods. working with property managers to kind of working on projects for sustainability. And that was a direct benefit to the residents and reducing some of their utility bills. So we would like to renew the program. And the first phase of this program is the administration piece of it. It's $100,000, and it's with Sustain Dane and Elevate. And Claire is here if you have any questions about the program, but I believe that you received some information about some of the great things they have done. And I know, Micah, you went out with Joyce to view some of the properties there in the healthy neighborhoods. So are there any questions for me?
So we did this as a one-year contract in 25. We're doing another one-year contract for 26. What do we, as we look out to the future, how many years do you think we're going to be doing this? I imagine there's an endless supply of NOAA out there.
Absolutely. So that's a great question. So right now, this is one of the housing buckets that you actually approved in May for a total of $1 million. We have $500,000 allocated for this year. CETA actually brought that up too, is that there's so many buildings that could really use some support. So I think that we're kind of looking at the additional monies that we can probably add to that bucket. So we haven't a definitive number, but definitely we want to continue this program long term. So
I will compliment you on your response there, Lorraine, and I would just like to add that I think seeing the impact of a program like this in our community and the application of the Affordable Housing Fund dollars for this particular initiative is pretty powerful. I think there's definitely some strong benefit to this. And I want to just identify or state that this is an important consideration as we look forward on what do we do with the remaining affordable housing funds. There is a finite number of funds available as we don't anticipate a TID closing for another approximately, I think, 6 years or so, not until the early 2030s. And there are obviously a lot of things that we could do with this money, but I do just want to, I guess, have the council be considerate of how you want to utilize what's left of this remaining unallocated affordable housing money, whether you think it might be best deployed in continuation of this program and extending it, perhaps more years than currently might be available, or if you would rather, spend that money or allocate that money on other programs or initiatives. But this is just one of those things I think want to kind of foreshadow a decision point for the Common Council upcoming that, we're doing some really good things with the housing money already. And there are certainly other things that could be done with it, but at some point it may come at the expense of things that are already happening, or at least there won't be any additional funding rolling into those things that are already going on. So again, just wanted to kind of flag that for future conversation and so forth.
This might be a question for Claire, but last year we were told that the HERE program wasn't really available for the properties that we did. Has that changed, or do you expect there to be, because I know that's referenced in here, do you expect that to be available in this year?
So the program is live, and we did try to have a property go through it last year, but the delay in Focus on Energy approving the applications, which were ultimately approved, precluded us from being able to receive it because we had to move forward with the project ahead of that. So this year, we have designed the program that once we've identified the buildings that we think would be the best fit, we're going to go right into applications for the HERE and Homes rebates. We're hoping that that's going to allow us, with enough time of the year, to be able to take advantage of those, because we would really like to be able to leverage the funding and have those rebates be a part of the program.
Thank you. And so I guess just to kind of speak to what you were saying, if we can take advantage of that, then that's great. If we can't, I think we should really take a look at whether we want to move forward with installing heat pumps in some of these properties, or if we want to look at instead just doing straight replacements of furnaces and air conditioners. If we can do more properties with the same amount of money, I would much prefer to do that. I mean, I'm very supportive of our climate change goals in the city as well, but not all money can be used to solve all problems, and this is affordable housing money, and I think that the maximum impact we can create within these houses should be our goal. So it's just something to keep in mind.
I'll echo that comment from Micah. I think that's a very good point, and I'm really glad to see that we can try to leverage that focus on energy money because there's significant money there. Working with them in my professional day career, there's a lot of money there. So I hope that we can make that work this year because that would be great.
And we have leveraged focus on energy money, but we haven't leveraged the federal money. And that's the same in the Madison program and the Middleton program too. So we did leverage focus on energy money, but not the federal here in homes rebates. That's the focus. And that's the new focus for the beginning application.
That's a lot of money too, if you can get it. So, I mean, those rebates are really good if you can get them. So hopefully we can.
Great to hear that we are using focus on energy. And how does that, is that part of the, like when we approve the quote, I guess I didn't ever ask this question. When we approve the quote, does that include like the rebate of focus on energy or do we handle that on the back end?
It's listed on the quote and then the contractors have taken it off and then they get the money back.
Oh, got it. So the rebate goes to the contractors, so it doesn't, we don't ever pay for it up front.
Right, and it's listed there so we see how much it is.
I'm curious also, Claire, how many other communities in Dane County are you working with on the Efficiency Navigator?
So we're working in Madison and Middleton. Middleton's actually taking a pause this year after 3 years because they are looking at their housing fund and developing their strategy, which they hope will include Efficiency Navigator. So you guys are actually the model for Middleton on this right now. And then we've had conversations with Sun Prairie as well. We're trying to figure out the funding there.
Great.
And then there's work going on in Eau Claire and up with some tribal communities as well. So outside of Dane County.
Outstanding.
Are we like shouting this story to the newspapers and the TV stations and everything? I mean, I feel like this is, you know, a successful, worthwhile program and people should know about it.
So one piece of this is that Claire will work with FACTv to kind of get this information out. So that is something that they'll be doing, I think in the first or into the first phase and on into the second phase. So definitely that's something that we do with this program. And also I wanted to address your previous question about the housing stock. So one of the things that we do, a part of this program, is that we work with building inspection, building and maintenance to assess all of the properties. So we can get a better idea of how much and what we need to do.
But money is going to be the limiting factor, not the housing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, seeing no other questions, we can take it to a vote. All in favor of resolution R2526, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks so much, Claire. And thanks, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Moving on to our last item, I will need a motion on resolution R2926, acceptance of Cyan Interceptor extension bids.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Jetzer. Tim, you have the floor.
Thank you. This interceptor is currently installed to the intersection of Haight Farm Road and Lacey Road and needs to be extended to service the Uptown Hills development. The project was advertised by legal notice in the Wisconsin State Journal on December 19th, 2025 and December 26th, 2025, as well as posted on questcdn.com. On January 16th, 2026, 4 sealed bids were received and publicly opened with the results listed in the attached bid tab. Fisher Excavating Incorporated's low bid of $601,066.50 was found to be in compliance with the bidding documents. The 2025 budget included funding for this project. We're looking for council to approve the award of the Cyan Interceptor extension to Fisher Excavating Incorporated in the amount of $661,173.15, and that includes a 10% contingency.
That's a really lovely number. That's very far under the engineer's estimate. That's amazing.
Yeah, all 4 of them were under. all 4 bids were under the engineer's estimate.
That's great. Is this debt financed or
This is 100% specially assessed to the property owners. So the utility will pay for the cost up front, but then be reimbursed after the assessment process is completed.
But in the short term, it's coming out of the utility fund. Other questions? Seeing none, we can take it to a vote. All in favor of resolution R 2926, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks so much, Tim. We are at the end of our action items. The next item of business is announcements. Our next meeting will be February 10th, 2026. Anything else, Misty? I will take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Adela say. Any, assuming no discussion, all in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned at 6:11 p.m. Thank you.